Hello friends, today we are going to recap Korean zombie movie called Alive. The story starts with Junwoo, who is a gamer and streamer alone at home. He just wakes up and finds that his father, mother and sister have left the apartment for their daily activities. He starts his gaming session until his friends tell him to immediately turn on the TV. He turns on the TV to find out that every news on TV is covering a strange disease that is currently rapidly spreading across the country. Suddenly, an emergency alert starts going off from his phone. He looks outside from his balcony and sees a pandemonium breaking out. The zombie-like disease causes infected people to bite and eat uninfected people nearby, thereby infecting them. People are running away in panic and fear, turning the city into a complete chaos. Junwoo hears a loud noise from his door and foolishly opens the door. A strange man comes rushing in and tells him that he is his neighbor from Unit 403. Junwoo, sensing something wrong, tries to get him out of the apartment, but the man pleads to let him use the toilet. While the man is inside the toilet, he sees the news talking about the symptoms and the cannibalistic tendencies of the infected. When the man comes out of the toilet, Junwoo immediately grabs a knife. The man tries to convince him that he is uninfected and pleads to him to let him stay inside the apartment. But suddenly, he bleeds from his eyes and turns hostile. Junwoo barely manages to get him out of his apartment to avoid getting eaten. He quickly tries to assess the situation and uses the fridge to barricade the door. He then tries to contact his family but fails. When he eventually receives a message from his mother assuring him of their safety and urging him to stay home, he calms down a little. He realizes that he will be stuck inside the apartment for a while, so he starts rationing supplies. But it's hard as they were little to begin with. On the next day, he wakes up to find out that the situation hasn't changed. He is still unable to contact his family. He finds out that the internet is filled with survivors posting about their condition and putting up their addresses in hope that the rescue team will come to them. So Junwoo puts up his own post. Junwoo decides to attach his phone to a drone to survey his surrounding area. He gets to see that most, if not all, the occupants of the apartment complex he lives in are now zombies. At a certain height, his phone gets a signal service and he once again tries to call his family. But he stops the operation once he notices that the drone battery is low. Feeling frustrated, he decides to just game it out, but soon the internet connection is also down. Having nothing else to do, he decides to go to bed. He wakes up to a loud noise and looks outside only to see a policewoman trying to run away from his infected colleague. In yet another foolish move, Junwoo attempts to scare off the zombies from hundreds of meters away by yelling at them as the policewoman is being torn to bits. Instead of saving the policewoman, it attracts the attention of a zombie close to his apartment. The zombie manages to break into his apartment by pushing open the door alongside the refrigerator. He barely manages to survive by tricking the zombie to jump out the window. He is unharmed, but the foolish encounter with the zombie has further reduced his food supply. He fixes the door and records another video of himself to lift up his spirit. On the next morning, he doesn't have any choice besides having breakfast with his father's liquor. Learning from his past mistakes, he seals the entire balcony. He watches a ramen noodle commercial on the TV and can't help but eat his last stock of food. While eating the last noodles in the house, he accidentally knocks over the last bottle of water. He soon finds out that the tap water also stops running, making him lick the spilled water from the table. It has been 15 days since he locked himself inside the apartment now, deprived of social interaction and the constant consumption of alcohol as his only last supply, making him hallucinate reuniting with his family. He becomes emotional and curls up on the floor. He wakes up to a call that turns out to be his mother, but the signal is so bad, he barely hears a thing. He stands on the edge of his balcony to get a better signal and hears that something is not quite right with his family. Feeling frustrated, he breaks things in his apartment and goes outside to take out his anger on the zombies. This foolish act soon bites back as he is nearly swamped in a horde of zombies. He barely manages to get back inside his apartment, but he has lost all his spirit. He decides to take his own life before the zombies can get to him. As Junwoo dangles from a cable he tied around his neck, a laser beam suddenly projects from the apartment building across the street. He sees a lady in an apartment across the street and immediately waves excitedly to her. She waves back and gestures to him to contact her again at 7 a.m. tomorrow. Now that he finds another survivor, he gains back his will to live. Unlike Junwoo, the lady seems very organized and has modified her apartment into booby traps for zombies. In the next morning, Junwoo overslept and woke up at 11 a.m. He gestures his apology and writes his name on the phone. The lady reciprocates and introduces herself as Yubin. After communicating for a while, Yubin hears a noise from her door. She tells Junwoo to contact her again at 7 a.m. tomorrow. As she tries to look for the source of the noise, she finds her traps and trap the zombie that made its way into her house. She proceeds to axe its head off. On the next morning, at the agreed upon time, Yubin tries to pass food over to Junwoo after seeing him starving. She attaches a rope to a baseball and throws it across, but it fails to reach his apartment and falls in the middle of the street. Junwoo then uses his drone to pass a rope to Yubin. Using that rope bridge, Yubin passes a container of snacks and a bottle of water to him. As he gestures his gratitude to Yubin, he notices that the ball with the rope that failed to make it across seems to have become a ladder for one of the zombies to climb up to Yubin's apartment. Junwoo immediately gestures this to her, but she can't react fast enough and gets hit by the table where she tied the rope. He uses his drone to distract the zombie. The zombie manages to destroy the drone, but it gives Yubin enough time to axe off the hand of the zombie, causing him to fall down. She survives with a minor bruise on her stomach. She then tidies up her apartment and reads Junwoo's message across the street, motivating her. Running low on supplies, Junwoo decides to go to the other apartment unit to scavenge for leftover supplies. He manages to get some food and 2 walkie-talkie before he flees back to his apartment. That night, he feasts on those sweet loots that he managed to gather. He sends back the container Yubin gave him with some food and the walkie-talkie. With the walkie-talkie, they can finally truly communicate. Junwoo feels excited as they talk more. He is able to thank Yubin for saving him when he decided to take his own life. But unknown to him, Yubin also tried to do it as well before. To celebrate this minor victory, they eat ramen noodles together as they talk to get to know each other more. While they talk, Junwoo tells Yubin to bring out basins to collect rainwater, as he can hear heavy sounds outside and thinks that it's raining. They look out the balcony, but it's not raining. Instead, they see a multitude of zombie hordes running into both apartment complexes simultaneously for an unknown reason. They both lie low and try to stay silent, but Yubin accidentally knocks over a shelf in her apartment. She knows that her apartment will soon be swamped with hordes of zombies, so she tells Junwoo that she will leave her apartment and head to the 8th floor of his apartment building, which she noticed is empty. They both agree to go up together and prepare themselves. Yubin jumps down her balcony with a rope, like a badass lady she is, and proceeds herself between zombies. On the way, she picks up a gun that was dropped by the policewoman before. Junwoo runs out to help her, and they both barely miss being surrounded by hordes of zombies as they enter the elevator to get to the 8th floor. As expected before, the 8th floor is completely empty, so they try to get into one of the apartment units. But the calm only lasts for a moment, as suddenly a zombie appears followed by a horde of zombies. A mysterious man suddenly appears just before they get eaten and pulls them inside his apartment. At first, they were wary of the mysterious man, but over time, they are overjoyed as the man offers them food from his seemingly abundant supplies. They finally can relax for a while. This blessing is short-lived as they soon discover that their food has been laced with drugs. The man is planning to offer them as a meal to his wife that has been turned into a zombie. Yubin wakes up zip-tied and locked inside a room with a zombie wife. Junwoo awakes and struggles to hold the rope that holds the zombie wife. The room suddenly becomes quiet, so the man unlocks the door. Suddenly, the wife zombie charges at the man and bites him. The man willingly lets her eat him as he loves his wife and doesn't want her to starve. Yubin fires a gun at both of them to end their suffering, but this only draws the attention of more zombies. Seeing no way out, they decide to shoot themselves before the zombies get to them. Just before they pull the trigger, they hear the rescue helicopter flying nearby. With hope rekindled in them, they struggle to make it to the rooftop, only to find out that the helicopter is no longer in sight. The zombies follow them to the rooftop as well, and they gradually creep closer and closer. They run out of the bullets as they stand on the edge of the building. Just when they are about to be swamped by the zombie horde, the rescue helicopter appears behind them and shoots at the zombies while pulling them inside to safety. Inside the helicopter, Junwoo is finally able to get signal service and receive a message from his family telling him that they are okay. They finally can breathe the wind peacefully as they fly away to safety together. Subscribe to watch more video like this. Thank you for watching and see you next time.